Today's video is about all the books I read in May. And trust me, there was a lot of good reads. So stick around so you can check out all the amazing reads I read in May. So hey page turners, Jeannie here, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, welcome. Glad you're here. So today's video is going to be all about the books that I read in May. And guys, May was an amazing reading month. I read 15 books in May. That's right, you heard it. You heard it right here. 15. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I read 15 books in May, and there are a lot of 5-star reads in there. And I am so excited to talk about them because it was just awesome, okay? It was an awesome month. So if you're interested in finding out all the books that I read in May and the 5-star reads I read, then you're gonna want to stick around for this video. I will also have all these books listed down below where it's easily accessible to you in case if you want to buy 1, 2, 10, all of them. Just so you're aware, this is not going in any particular order. It's just basically going by the order that I read them, actually. So let's dive into the first book that I read in May. Ladies Get Paid by Claire Wasserman. I listened to the audio book via my script app. Basically, it's about women taking charge and how to excel and basically fight for what they should be getting and the salaries they should be getting in the workplace. So one of the messages that I really enjoyed from this book is that you should own who you are and not sell yourself short. A lot of the topics in this book was about, women getting paid and getting what we deserve in the workplace, and how there are gender differences when it comes to getting paid what we should be getting paid and what we deserve. The author also included case studies of how women face different struggles and how they overcame them to find what best suited them within the workplace and their lives. I really like that she focused a lot on Black women and Hispanics. Being a Hispanic myself, I have faced my own struggles within the workplace, so it was very nice to see that she mainly included them, but she also had her own struggles that she faced within the workplace. And I loved how, her being a white woman, she was able to say, I don't understand their struggles, but I acknowledge it, and I can see how each race faced different kinds of struggles. I also like the examples and the advice that she gave in regards to negotiating your salary and recognizing that you deserve more than what you're getting, and especially for all the work that a lot of women put into life, society, and the workplace. And while we know that this book shouldn't really exist because, women's equality, the times we're living in, however, obviously it's here for a reason, right? Because we all know that as much as we can say, oh, women's equality, and we fight for women's rights, and job and employers claiming that they don't discriminate, but in reality they do. We all know that men always get paid more than women, and that is why this book is so important, because it's just such a great read. And I think that anybody should read it, woman or man, because I think that it would also educate men to understanding the unfair acts that are going on in the workplace when it comes to women. I forgot to mention that I have a new rating system. It's just going by how I felt with the books. I'm not really that much of a critical reader or like dissecting each point. So it's more about how I felt, what I've learned from it, like overall just my feelings about a book. So I gave this one a 5-star rating, which I like to call a page turner and the best thing ever. So I would highly recommend that you pick up this book. Another book that I read in May is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So in this one, it was very interesting for me to see Achilles through the eyes of Patroclus, who just so happens to be his best friend and eventually his lover. I love that we're able to see Achilles in a different light, because you know, we all know him as this great thing, and he's powerful, and he's like the best of the best, which of course is stated in here as well. But through the eyes of Patroclus, we're able to see him humanized and see his flaws even more than all his greatness. And as far as like the romance between them, I absolutely loved it. I loved the way it turned from a beautiful friendship and then eventually turned to, you know, them being lovers. And I really loved their relationship. I really loved the way Madeline Miller conveyed their story. Each moment that they had together, it was just like this beautiful thing. It was like a plant or like a flower. It just kept growing and growing and blossoming until it just became this full-grown amazing plant. I think you get my point, right? So their relationship just blossomed, and it was just like so precious and adorable. And as usual, just like in Circe, Madeline Miller's writing style is so lyrical and just like captivating. It really immerses you into the world. And I really love that she stayed true to the homosexuality aspects of Achilles' story, because a lot of times that gets taken out of things. It was very nice to see that representation portrayed in this story. So now, one thing that I will leave you with about this, besides its beauty and that you should definitely pick it up, is that it's exceptionally painful and utterly devastating. So when you go into this, just know that your heart is going to be broken. But it's so worth the heartbreak. Okay, so make sure that you pick this one up. I rated this one a 5-star read for me, so it was definitely a page turner and the best thing ever in my book. And I would definitely recommend you pick this one up. So the next book that I read in May is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. If you're not aware, this one is book 3 to the Mortal Instruments series. So what I love is that Cassandra Clare really knows how to create these worlds that keeps me immersed in them. She knows how to give me everything I want and need in a book, which is like the characters, the setting, and all the different kind of creatures. It gives me everything that I love. I get a taste of fairies, vampires, werewolves, warlocks, witches, just everything, okay? Everything. She does not leave any of those magical creatures that we love from different worlds out. And the plot twists were somewhat predictable at times. However, they were also very surprising. Like sometimes I would think that I knew something, and then it's like boom, something just like totally switches on you. And that's something that I really enjoyed about this series as well. And going into the characters, one of the things that I really liked about this one too is that we get to find out a little bit more about Jace. Because if you've read this series, you know that in previous books we don't really know too much about him, and you know, like the story of his life and what's true and what's false. So in this one, it's like we kind of get to know more of the truth about Jace. The things that I really didn't vibe with is that a lot of the beginning was pretty slow for me. Like it was just so slow, and it takes a bit for it to pick up. However, what I will say is that when it does pick up, you're like really wanting to find out more and just like turning those pages. Then another thing I got pretty annoyed by is the crybabies in this one. So here's the crybabies, to me at least. Jace is definitely a crybaby, and Simon is like the ultimate crybaby. And then Clary is just annoying as usual. But for me, it was just like so whiny and immature, and it was annoying. However, what I will say is that I do know that they're teenagers, and you know, this is how teenagers act. So of course it's like, yeah, this is what you're gonna get when you're reading about teenagers. But at the same token, I just feel like it was so repetitive, the whininess and the annoyingness, especially like with Simon. It was just like, oh my god, okay, that's enough. Like, just shut up and get over it. Like, move along. Like, I get it, but do you constantly have to just keep on with your whining and the sob story? Like, no, that's it. Let's just move on from that. It was pretty much getting on my nerve. Then, like I said, Clary. Oh, Clary. I'm always constantly asking the question, like, am I ever going to like her? You know, because there's so many people that really like her, and then there's so many people that feel like me. So, you know, I just wonder if I'm just done with her at this point. Like, don't get me wrong, I did like seeing the little growth that she would do, but the thing that would really annoy me is, firstly, her indecisiveness, then like her confusing feelings. Then it's also like, okay, she was like really trying to be like this pro independent person, but then it was like anytime like a man or a boy was around, she would crawl back into like the, oh yeah, I'm Clary, you know, like I can't make choices for myself type role, if that makes sense. Then I found Isabel to start annoying me as well, because I felt like she wasn't as badass as she was in the other books. It kind of felt like in this one she just became unassertive and like pretty passive. So that pretty much annoyed me. Like, she was just very compliant now and being like, you know, I don't know what it was, but it's like she just didn't have her own voice, you know, like she would just go along with what everybody was doing, as compared to like the first books where she would just do her thing and, you know, that was it. So I'm not sure if maybe because her parents were around, that maybe that's why, you know, she was acting that way. But I just felt like it kind of sucked that she was acting that way, because I viewed her as pretty, not like super badass, but you know, she was okay for a teen, you know? And of course, maybe it's just me being me and my love for villains and dark characters and morally gray characters that I really wanted to see more of Sebastian in this one. So yeah, it kind of fell short when it came to that. It's like we got a glimpse of him here, a glimpse of him there, and then he had his moment, and then that was all. So yeah, that's basically how I felt about this one. But all in all, I did enjoy it. I do enjoy this world, and of course I'm going to continue on in this series. And I gave this one a 4-star, which is a I can get with this type of book. If you have not read the Mortal Instruments series, that you get on it, because it's a pretty good series. So the next book I'm going to talk about is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. So if you're not aware, this one is split into 5 small novellas, and it's basically telling you a little bit more about Selena and the adventures that she's been on, and how a lot of her past has affected her future and has molded her into the person she is today. That's one of the things that I enjoyed about this one, is that we get to see Selena, you know, like in the past, and learn more about her story and the struggle she dealt with. And I'm glad that I read it after Heir of Fire, because it kind of gives you that outlook of what's to come in the series. And then I also feel like your mind is still fresh from everything that you've learned here. Being that it's such a big series, it's just that feeling of like, okay, once you go into Queen of Shadows, since there are things that are mentioned from here, it's like it's fresh in your head, and now you can understand like why she feels that way, and you know, like where the story is leading to. I also like that we finally got to meet Sam and Arobin, and we get to, you know, like understand why Selena mourns Sam so much and why she hates Arobin so much. So the thing is that with this one, I had originally started it in April, and as you can see by this video, I finished it in May. So the reason for that is because it took me a bit to get into it. Like, I felt like it dragged, and then I felt like there was times where I was kind of just bored with it. I don't know if it was, that some of the stories were okay, and then some of them was like meh, and then some of them was like, oh, it's pretty good, or if it's just that I wanted to move on in the series. I don't know. I did feel like I did grow a little bit bored, like with the first half of it. Then I feel like with the last three stories, I believe it was, it kind of picked up a little bit because it was just so slow paced. Even though I understand that Sarah J. Maas is, explaining things and trying to get you to understand certain things. But then I also feel like, was this necessary to be written as a story as well? You know what I mean? But at the same token, I also feel like, well, you know what, Jeannie? Don't knock it out just yet, because who knows, maybe this character is important later on in the series. Overall, I did enjoy the stories in here, and I gave this a 3-star rating. So with that said, it was okay. However, I am still glad that I took the time to read it, and I would still recommend that you pick this up. So the next 3 books that I want to quickly mention in this wrap up is Fallen Kingdom by Morgan Road, Rebel Spring, and Gathering Darkness. I read the first 3 books in the Fallen Kingdom series. However, what I will say is that I don't want to really talk about these in this wrap up because I feel like there's so much to say. So what I decided to do was that I'm going to make a separate video once I'm done with this series, and I will give you all the teas on this series. All I know is that you're going to want to see that video because this series is definitely one you should pick up. I'll leave you with that. So the next book that I was able to finish in May is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. To start this one off, this one is the 3rd book in the Folk of the Air series, and it's the final book in that series. What I really enjoyed in this one is seeing Jude grow and finally like understanding her worth. And Jude really resonated with me because, like me, she tends to hold things in, and she really doesn't like to deal with pain or even like showing any form of weakness. Yet in this one, she did learn that, you know what, sometimes we do go through shit and we just gotta deal with it and move on and let others help us along the way. It was nice to see Jude understand that and finally realize things and kind of just open up. And as for Carden, I actually still love Carden because I felt like in this one we got to learn about him even more, and I feel like learning about him and what he's been through and what was prophesied on him made me see him differently. And don't get me wrong, because I always liked Carden. I mean, I didn't agree with some of the things he would do to Jude because it was so mean. However, understanding the way, the Fae world is, I mean, it doesn't come much as a surprise. But I do know that I always liked Carden, and I just felt like he was misunderstood, and I wanted to find out more about him, and I'm glad that I was able to get that in this one. So being that there was things that was prophesied on him, in regards to if he became king, I really enjoyed seeing Carden be able to prove others wrong while he was the king. So not only did he become the king that Elfame needed and wanted, but he also became the king that he dreamed of being and that he needed as well. So as far as the pacing, I found that it was pretty good, and I like that the plot started right away. There was no waiting until like page 200 or like midway through or even a fourth left and that's when everything gets thrown at you. No, the plot took off like right from the start, and I really loved that, and I appreciated that too, because I'm just that type of reader. Okay, I like, the action to start, so it can pull me in, keep me hooked, and leave me wanting to find out more. And this one definitely did that. However, I felt like things were also missing and things that still needed to be resolved. Some topics and parts in here and throughout, like the rest of the series, that you are left questioning are just left unexplored. Then there's the ending. And guys, to be honest, I really didn't care for the ending. I felt like it was stupid. Like, I really didn't care for the ending to this. Listen, I don't really have too much to say about it because I just was not satisfied with that ending. I don't want to say what happens, but all I know is that it sucked. At least in my opinion, it sucked. I felt like it was just like rushed. Boom, this happens, and then boom, Jude figures something out, and then boom, that's it, end of story. So that ending, to me, I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of people that they love the ending and they rave about it, but me, I'm not part of that group. Sorry, but not sorry, because you know what, I really didn't care for the ending to this. Another thing that really bothered me was the non-existent chemistry between Jude and Carden. So I know a lot of people ship them and really love them, and some people even go to the extreme of calling them the power couple, but I don't see it. I'm sorry, but I really don't see the chemistry. I don't get happy and giddy when they're together, or like, I don't ship them at all. I feel like they're better off as friends, and they're just so much better off separate and more interesting when they're separate than when they come together. When they come together, it's like meh. It's crazy because even when they say certain things to each other or how they feel about each other or whatever, I'm just like, I'm not buying it. Like, I just was not buying them together. I think they really would have been better just being friends, and that's it, because I just didn't vibe with the chemistry, and I felt like it just wasn't there. It really just wasn't there for me. Overall, this one was pretty much just an okay read for me. And in my rating system, an okay read for me means that I gave it 3 stars. I still would recommend it because overall it is a pretty good series. Next book that I read in May is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Okay guys, so in case you're not aware by now, this one is the second book of the ACOTAR series, and this one was also a reread for me. And guys, it's just confirmed, okay? I am absolute trash for this book in particular. So far, this one is my favorite one out of the 2. And quite honestly, I can say that this one is way better than ACOTAR. Like, don't get me wrong, I love ACOTAR too. The plot in this one is so much more intricate and detailed, and I love the pacing. Like, I never found myself bored or like just trying to get through a section. No, it's just the pacing just flows. And again, like, I didn't find myself just trying to get through parts. It was just like perfect the way everything flowed. Then there's the action in this one. I love it. It is like action filled. The romance, ooh, the romance, it is steamy in here, okay? Like, so yeah, be prepared because there is some steam in this one. And the plot twist was so good. Mind you, this is a reread for me, and I still was like, oh yeah. And I really enjoyed the character development in this one. For example, with Feyre, after everything that took place in the first book, she has grown so much more as a character. She experiences PTSD in this one, which I appreciate that Sarah J. Maas put that in here, because it just made sense, okay? Like, after you deal with some kind of traumatic moment in your life, it makes sense that you're going to experience PTSD or some kind of trauma after everything you've been through, right? I really love being able to take that journey with Feyre and experiencing everything that she was feeling and what she was going through after the events that took place in the first book. It was so nice to see like the change and how she evolved to letting that stuff go and becoming stronger. And then there's Restan, okay? I am saying his name purposefully like that. Restan, because I am trash for Reese, okay? Like, I totally forgot some of the points that he brings up in this one, and I just love him, okay? Like, his character development is so amazing. I already loved Reese in ACOTAR, but in this one, I absolutely fall in love with Reese. He goes into more details of his life and the sacrifice that he made in order to help his people, keep them safe and protected. I absolutely loved when he was explaining everything to Feyre and just like telling her why he did the things that he did, especially when it came to her as well. That just took my breath away. Like, you know, it just made me feel like, where is my real life Rhysand? Okay, where are you? I'm waiting because I need a Rhysand in my life. And then there's Lucian, right? So with Lucian, I love Lucian. I loved him ever since the first book, and I absolutely love him still. He's gone through so much and so much heartbreak and so much nonsense. Can he get a break? You know, like, I am really hoping that things work out with Lucian and that he finally gets his happily ever after and that he's happy, because that's what I want for him. And then there's all the other characters that we are introduced to, which is Cassian, Azriel, Moore, and Amren. And oh my goodness, this group of characters are just awesome. They each have their own little personality traits that you just love. Like, I really love how mysterious Azriel is, but then he's so badass. And then there's Cassian, who is just funny and sarcastic and badass as well. And then there's Moore, who is like this diva, and she is like this fashionista, and I love her. I would love to hang out with her, by the way. And then there's Amren, who is like feared, but she's that type of character that's very mysterious, and you know she has a dark past, which we do find out a little bit here. But you still love her because she's just so cool and so badass, and why not, right? So all in all, this was a page turner for me, the best thing ever, which means that I gave it 5 stars, because I mean, I don't have to say nothing more about it. It's just awesome, and I highly recommend, if you have not read this one, hurry up and pick it up. If you haven't started this series, then stop waiting and pick it up, because I can almost guarantee that you will love this one. So another book that I was able to finish in May is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. In case you're not aware, this one is the 3rd book in the Brown Sister series. And in this one, we are diving into the world that is Eve Brown. And guys, Eve Brown is just so much fun. Like, I really love her. She's just perfect. Like, she's witty, she's sassy, she's funny. She is just such a hot mess. And you know what? I love that about her. And the main thing that I really love about her, besides her personality, which is awesome, is that she just has this attitude, like this, I'm unapologetically me, and you're gonna either deal with it or not, but regardless of how you feel, I'm still gonna be me. And I absolutely love that for her, and I love that about her. And then of course there's Jacob. Oh, Jacob, right? So with Jacob, he is like the complete opposite of Eve. He likes to be in control. He's kind of cold and a little standoffish. Okay, maybe not a little, but quite pretty standoffish. Even though he is that way, we do get to see like bits and pieces of him and his vulnerability, and we get to also see like how he feels about Eve. Well, actually, or shall I say, how he really feels about Eve. And it was just so much fun to experience him as a character, because he's also just funny. Like, he's so sarcastic, and I absolutely love it. And a little bit of his personality kind of resonates with me, because a lot of times people will see me in a similar way. Like, they'll think I have attitude, or I'm cold, or I'm bitchy, and it's like, no, no, no. If you get to know me, then you'll know that I'm a pretty cool person. And that's how it was with Jacob as well. And the thing that I absolutely loved with this one is their banter. Oh my god, it was the best ever. Like, I absolutely loved that. It was so funny. I don't think that there ever was any point in this book where I was not laughing. I think with every chapter I was laughing, because there was always something happening or something being said, and it was just so funny that, again, I just found myself laughing out loud plenty of times with this. So this one is definitely a opposites attract trope, and what I can say is that Talia Hibbert does it so well, because the way that Eve and Jacob complement each other, it was just perfection. Like, they just were meant for each other, even though they were so opposite. And then there's the steam in this one, and ooh, child, you better get the fire extinguisher, because because the steam is pretty good. Okay, there are some steamy moments in here. The only thing negative that I have to say about this one, because it is just horribly negative and I really don't like that, it's that it's the last book in a trilogy, and that makes me mad and sad. I really don't want this thing to end. Like, I really love this trilogy and I love each of these sisters, and it's like, now it's over, and I don't want it to be over. I mean, come on, guys. This was definitely a page turner for me, and it's the best thing ever, and I gave it 5 stars. And you better pick this up, because it's just awesome, and you'll thank me in the end. Trust me. So another book that I had a lot of fun in, that I read in May, is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Austin. Okay, guys, so if you're not aware, or if you can't tell just by the cover alone, which, can I say, the cover alone deserves all the stars, because look at how beautiful it is. Oh my goodness, I am absolutely in love with this cover. This is a middle grade fantasy, and quite honestly, guys, it doesn't read so juvenile to me, and that's something that I really loved about it, is that it didn't really read like a middle grade, you know, like, not saying that it read like young adult, but I really didn't get such a childish type writing in this one, and I love that. And the story and the world is so much fun. I really love this fantasy world that Austin created. Like, he gave ode to all of the myths and legendary characters that we either love or are so familiar with. And that to me was everything. So the pacing in this one was awesome. I didn't feel bored at all. It was so much fun. And the plot twist, though I predicted, one of them that was in here, it was still fun to see how everything unfolded and why. And as for Amari, I love her, okay? Like, she has easily become one of those unforgettable characters for me. Being in this world, she dealt with so much bullying and trying, to fit in and being told that she's not good enough. And you know what? She took all of that and she still moved forward and she used it to make her stronger. And she didn't give up. And that is a message that all young children and even us as adults need to see. And it was so beautiful that Amari was that kind of character, and I really love her. So with that being said, this one was definitely a page turner for me and the best thing ever. So I gave it 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend that you pick it up, especially if you want to try middle grade. Then I would definitely say start off with this one because it's so much fun and I'm sure you're going to love it. Another book I read in May is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. First of all, I need to start off with talking about Evelyn Hugo because she hands down just became one of my most favorite characters ever. She's just such a dynamic character, and I think one of the most dynamic characters that I've ever read. One of the things that I really loved about her is that she's so flawed, but yet she owns it and she is not ashamed of it at all. And this story was so touching and powerful. There was like so many important themes and topics in here. It shows what women go through to get somewhere in life. How men use their power against women. And also how men perceive women and, try to use them to get their way. Another thing that I really loved about this book is how diverse it was, with the diverse characters and LGBT characters that was represented in this book, with Evelyn Hugo being Cuban and Monique being biracial. We also got gay, lesbian, and bisexual characters in here, and it was just everything, and I really loved that. Not only is Evelyn Hugo gonna captivate you with her story, but she's also gonna break your heart, because with this one, I cried, okay? Like, there is stuff that happens in here that first it like got me teary-eyed, and then boom, something else happened, and then I'm like legit crying, and then something else happens, and then I'm just like a mess after that. Okay, so just be prepared going into this one. You may want to grab that box of tissues or buy a box of tissues if you don't have them, because this one will leave you heartbroken. However, it is so worth it, okay? Like, this is just such a beautiful book, and of course I had to give it 5 stars because it's definitely a page turner for me, and it was the best thing ever, and I would recommend it to everyone because it is forever gonna stick with me. Another book I was so happy that I got to read in May is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. So if you didn't get to see my May TBR video, this book was actually gifted to me by one of my subscribers, which again I am still so thankful for and so appreciative of, and I can totally understand now why this is that subscriber's favorite book. This one takes place in the Nazi Germany era, and guys, like, this story, even though it takes time to develop, it is so worth it, okay? Like, it left me feeling so many different emotions. Like, I felt happiness, I felt sadness, I felt angry, and I had a lot of moments where I laughed as well. This is such an impactful story too that I feel like it will stick with you forever. So the fun thing about this one is that it had such an unlikely narrator, which was Death itself. Death didn't have that persona and that tone, that sinister tone that we're so used to. Like, instead, Death was an observer and was just watching and telling the story. And what I also enjoyed was being able to get the foreshadowing and the little hints that Death would give us, letting us know that who was going to die. I'm so used to Death just being this sinister, thing, collecting souls and moving along in life, right? But it was so nice to see a different side to Death, and especially where it became invested in Liesel's story. Speaking of Liesel, so I loved her. She was such an enjoyable and relatable character. She was so sweet and brave and so smart. And it's like you just can't help but fall in love with her. And then there's Max, and another character that I like so much too, because he's just so sweet as well and caring and just an overall wonderful guy. I really like seeing the friendship that Max and Liesel developed, because even though she had like a 10-year difference from Max, it didn't seem creepy to me or like make me feel any uncomfortable feelings. And I loved that because it was more like a big brother and little sister type relationship, and it was just so cute as well. And then there's Hans Huberman, and listen, okay, he has become the best literary dad ever, in my opinion, and that's on period. Like, he stole my heart, and I really enjoyed seeing the relationship that he had with Liesel, and I just found it so adorable. Like, I'm not sure if this is a spoiler, but I believe it happens early on in the story. Hans was the one who taught Liesel how to read, and even though he wasn't such a great reader himself, he wanted to make sure that Liesel knew how to read, so like that she can become somebody, in the future. And that to me was so beautiful, because it's just because of him that Liesel fell in love with words and books. And just to emphasize on how adorable their relationship was, there's a part in here that Hans draws a stick figure picture of Liesel. It just has a big smile and no eyes. And then Liesel comes out and she's like, "Papa, I have no eyes." And then he says the cutest thing. He says, "With a smile like that, you don't need eyes." And that was just like, oh my God, so adorable. Or maybe it's just me, but listen, I just love him. And I never really had a literary dad that I really liked, and now I finally found one. And now when they ask that question in Bookstagram, I will definitely say Hans Huberman. Overall, there was such a powerful message being said, and that's the way friends and family shape you, and how stories can help you through the toughest times. And I'm sure as readers, we can all relate to that, because I know I, for one, love reading, especially when I'm stressed or when I just need to escape reality. And even during the toughest times, I know that once I pick up a book, I feel so much better. And of course, it doesn't erase what is actually going on, but it's just, that's the beauty of being able to read and experience these wonderful worlds and these wonderful characters that these authors create for us, because it really does help us through the toughest of times. And with that being said, this was definitely a page turner for me and the best thing ever. I gave it 5 stars, and I would recommend it to anyone. anyone because it's just so beautiful. And again, I want to thank the person that gifted this to me, and it easily became a favorite of mine as well. And I'm glad that I am able to share that with the person that gave this to me. Another fun book that I was able to read in May is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. So guys, this book was amazing, okay? All caps and exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, because I love this book, okay? Klune has woven something so beautiful and special in these pages, and I was just so immersed in this world because it deals with so many difficult topics in such a beautiful way that I was just in love from the beginning all the way to the end. There was so many beautiful like lessons and quotes that was in here. Like, one of the main things that I got from this is that you should love yourself regardless of the way the world makes you feel, or the way people make you feel, and that we should live in love and acceptance and not in fear and hatred. This is what we are dealing with a lot of now, right? And I think that everybody needs to pick this up because it is so needed. As for the characters, I absolutely loved Linus Baker. He was just so much fun, and I loved seeing the changes he made as he spent time with the children in the orphanage. He was definitely a character that was stuck on rules and the rules and the guidelines and the regulations of the company that he worked for. But all in all, he started to see that though these children are different, they still matter, and that was so beautiful. And then there's Arthur Parnassus, and he's the one who takes care of the children in the orphanage. He left me a little confused at first because in the beginning I was like, does he really care about these children, or is he trying to use them for something else? I guess it's because I read so many fantasy books like that it's like, that's my first reaction. Is he really good, or is he a villain? But one thing I could say is that I loved him as a character. I loved the way he was with the children. He definitely left an imprint in my heart. And then there's Lucy, who is one of my favorite children in this orphanage. Don't get me wrong, I love all of them. However, Lucy is my heart. I love him. He's so funny, and I was living for every moment that he popped up into the story because he's just so sinister and wicked. Because of who his father is, he really uses that to his advantage. And it's so funny because he just loves to scare people, and I love it. And he was just so much fun, and I really love Lucy, okay? He's the best little thing ever, and I would so adopt him. So if you haven't guessed by now, I don't think I have anything bad to say about this one. And this one was definitely a page turner for me, and the best read ever. I can definitely see myself reading this one over and over and over, especially when I need a pick-me-up. This one is perfect for that, and I gave it 5 stars. And I would recommend that if you've been thinking about picking it up, please pick it up, because it's a beautiful book and it has such a beautiful message. And I would recommend this to everybody because this one definitely will stick with me forever. Another book that I was able to finish in May is Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. So guys, in case you're not aware, this one is the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series. I will keep it pretty short because since it's the 4th book, I can't really say too much because I don't want to spoil anything. What I will say is that I really enjoyed seeing Selena grow in this one as she started to accept herself more, you know, for all her flaws, her past, everything that she's been through, and the person that she discovered that she is. It was really nice to see that, and also see the changes she made as far as like the decisions that she makes and being more careful. And then there's Manon. I am really enjoying her story as well, and the changes that she is making as a character too. So in this one, we get to see that she is starting to stand on her own. She's also realizing a lot of things and starting to not be so obedient when it comes to certain things. And she's taking a stand on things that she's starting to believe and believing in herself as well. And the other thing that I really love is that she's just so delightfully wicked, and I love it. Hands down, I love Manon, and I can't wait to continue to see where else her story is going to go. So as far as like the story and the pacing, I felt like the pacing was kind of slow for me, and it pretty much dragged. So nothing really happened until like halfway through, which is kind of like, it kind of made me feel like, did this really have to be 650 pages at this point? Like, not really. This is an I can get with this book, which means that I gave it a 4-star rating, and I would still recommend it to anybody who's interested in reading a plot-driven story. So there you have it, page turners, all the books that I read in May. Let me know in the comments below if you read any of these, or if you plan on reading them. If you read them, let me know what you think. So if you're interested in getting any of these books, remember that I always link them down below. Using my Amazon affiliate link will definitely help support your girl. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and turn on those post notifications so you don't ever miss a video with me ever again. That's it for this video. I love you guys so much, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.